space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And this week, we're going to be talking about only one Trek episode this week. This Prodigy's finished. So we've got Season 4, Episode 2 of Discovery called Anomaly. Only a tiny bit of Trek news this week, which is we did try out Pluto TV, and they did show Discovery this week.
They did 3 times.
Yep, the Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. The bad news is that they've not put it on the catch-up, which I assume must have been part of the deal that Paramount did. Like, you know, okay, you can broadcast it, but we're not letting you do it on catch-up because that's going to be a thing.
Wait, Viacom owns both of them anyway, so it was Viacom did a deal with themselves.
Yeah, but they still don't want to they've got to have something to sell Paramount.
Yeah,
you can watch it anytime.
I read one of our friends on Facebook. She was complaining that she couldn't pause it to go to the toilet. And I think this is a bit like that you can't stream, that it's not gone on to Pluto streaming. That it's like we've all got in the bad habit how we watch TV now with streaming. We watch when we want. With Discovery, we've got to watch it old school.
Yeah,
there's advert breaks, so every 15 minutes you've got a chance to run to the toilet anyway.
Yeah, and you know, not by design, but they've managed to make it into appointment TV again. Everyone's talking about how appointment TV's died with the advent of streaming, but so there you go. Your Star Trek appointment is 9 o'clock on either Friday night, Saturday night, or Sunday night now. So we'll keep an eye on if there's any developments in that. But the good news is you can watch it. We don't have to rely on our Bajoran militia smugglers anymore to get us the copies of the episodes. So let's have a look at Anomaly then. Again, I think this is a really solid episode. I feel like Discovery's sort of settled into a groove now. It doesn't feel like it's in a state of flux like it kind of did for the first 3 seasons. It always felt like we were waiting for it to
find its feet.
Yeah, not so much to find its feet. I think it's always been a good show and it's always been entertaining, but it always felt like everything was a bit up in the air and it was in a bit of state of flux with different captains and Michael being promoted and demoted and all this business. Whereas now it feels like we're finally settling into, this is Discovery's timeline. This is where it is. They work for Starfleet. They've got a mission. Michael's the captain. And by the end of the episode, we've got Saru as the first officer. So I feel like this is the formula for Discovery now. And I'm probably going to look a complete idiot when they shake it up completely in a couple of episodes.
And Saru gets made captain again.
Maybe so. But I feel like this is where they wanted it to get to.
He does mention, doesn't he, that he has told Admiral Daddy Bear, Silver Daddy Bear, that he will go back to the captain's seat at some point.
Yeah, so they've always got that option if they want
to be fair, he might get the captain's seat of Voyager.
I thought that's what they were going to go with. And I do quite like the idea of having a show that can be about 2 captains on 2 ships.
Yeah.
And have these big, like, you know, we are getting what's looking like it's going to be a galaxy-spanning mission this season. And we've never really done that on Star Trek, have 2 different crews investigating, and they could be in different quadrants or they could be in different systems looking at different pieces of the puzzle. And I think that could be, I don't think we'll do it this season, but season 5 I'd be up for.
Yeah.
You've got Captain Burnham on the Discovery and you've got Captain Saru on Voyager or whatever, and they're doing
that could be quite cool.
Yeah, like in the New Frontier books, the later ones, it starts off with Shelby from TNG's the first officer on the Excalibur, But she gets promoted and gets her own ship. And so some of the later books, it jumps between the two ships and shows her what they're up to. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing something like that. Another thing I think that Discovery has flirted with doing a story about mental health. And they did a fair bit of setup with Detmer last season, seemingly having PTSD. And then it just sort of went.
It sort of pittered out, didn't it? It was quite a disappointing conclusion to it.
I feel like maybe when they've had the meetings in between seasons, they've gone, you know what, we could have done a bit more with that. Why don't we try that again? But we'll do it with characters that we know a bit better. So it looks like we're doing something with Book with that and with Tilly. So I'll be. I think if they're going to have another crack at it, do it properly this time and give us.
Yeah, like I thought Tilly's was a bit forced. That it's from what happened on that space station.
Yeah,
I'm thinking with what she's gone through, and that's what she's finding difficult to cope with.
Maybe it's like just an accumulation of things.
Maybe
it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and maybe gonna. I don't know, but I do agree with you. Yeah, it's like she's been through way more traumatic things than that. And she's been okay. So,
like with Book, you can see where they can really go into something there.
Yeah. Whereas, weirdly, I felt like I'm sure there'll be more to it, but it feels like they wrapped up a lot of it with Book this episode. Like, we took him from a place at the start where he's having these flashbacks and he's rewatching the footage, and I felt like that was a commentary on sort of people who have like obsessive tendencies and replay conversations in the head over and over and think, oh, I should have said this, or I should have done that, or what did I do wrong? And whereas with the technology we've got in Star Trek, in this future version of Star Trek, they're visualizing that in a very real way. It's not Booker sitting there thinking, what could I have done differently? He's literally watching a replay of what he did.
Yeah.
As Michael...
Like, to be fair, there's nothing he could do different.
No, absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Like, as Michael points out to him, it's not healthy doing this. You couldn't have done anything else. And what would he have done if he'd have stayed on the planet? He'd have died as well. So
yeah,
there's literally nothing.
He didn't have time to get back to save them.
No.
He didn't feel anything to sort of try get them off the planet with him.
Yeah, but he didn't have an opportunity to do it. I suppose it's what they call survivor's guilt, isn't it? That he's the only one who's made it out alive. And there's some good stuff, like Michael's obviously trying to be there for him, and she says, well, what do you need? Which I think
it does raise an interesting one, because the busy refitting all the fleet with spore drives, and it's his species that they need to use them.
I think that was done very deliberately, because it's right. We're probably going to need an explanation further down the line for why we can't give everybody a spore drive. So let's
kill them all.
Yeah, let's give ourselves a storyline reason why we can make that more difficult. And if they do decide to go ahead with it, they can always go, we've adapted it, and now you can do it without, or whatever.
Well, they're looking. It's empaths, isn't it? So would what is it? What's Troy? Betazoids.
Yeah,
work just as well.
Could
put a Betazoid in instead.
And at the end of the day, Stamets can do it. So there are things you can do to get humans to be able to do it. So they've got an out if they want to do it, but they've built themselves an out if they don't want to do it now. So there's a good place to be in storytelling wise. And Michael says, like, tell me whatever you need. And I do like how developed their relationship is, that Book realizes Michael needs to be doing captainy things at the minute. So he says, I need you to go. And it might not be strictly true. he probably could do with her support and everything, but he knows that she's needed elsewhere.
Yeah.
He's emotionally aware enough to be able to do that when he's struggling. So it's definitely a more healthy relationship for Michael than it was with Ash. And then Saru comes back, which is great. I was wondering, were we going to drag this out a bit? And
I was thinking this. Are we going to be sort of keep seeing little clips of him on Kavanagh?
Yeah, or is he going to shuttle?
And be halfway through when he actually comes back into it. But no, they've done it really early on in the season.
And the good thing as well is straight away we established, right, you're going to be the first officer. And we talked a lot last season about how we were concerned that would it feel like Michael was being captain at the expense of Saru. And I feel like they've handled this really well, because Saru's come back and he said, yeah, I could be a captain, but I feel like I'm needed here.
Yeah.
So he's taken it upon himself to effectively take a demotion because he knows he can be more helpful. And I think that's a really good way of playing it.
But I think he's also there for this mission. And there's the thing that he might be going back to Kavanagh, that he can't commit to the job of being a captain.
Yeah, there's definitely, again, they're leaving themselves a lot of leeway for what they want to do with Saru going forward. But I like that they establish him as a first officer, and I really like the dynamic that they build up, even through this episode. Now that we've got the roles flipped, Saru's the first officer, Michael's the captain. And the relationship, it feels like it works a lot better like this. It's almost like the Kirk Spock thing, that you've got the captain who can be a bit hot-headed, a bit impulsive, and then you've got the first officer who can be a bit more analytical and a bit more grounded.
Let's bear in mind, by the time we got to the movies, half of them were captains.
Oh, yeah. And that's kind of what we're getting here. So everyone else is a commander, apart from Tilly and Adira now. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like that we're going to call you Mr. Saru, which feels like a nod to Mr. Spock.
It does. I like that.
And speaking of nods, we get this big briefing scene. And this really reminds me of, I mean, we talked about, is the Anomaly going to be Voyager last week? I don't think it is. I don't think there's anything in this episode to suggest it is. But the way it's briefed out feels like that briefing in the motion picture where Kirk goes down the shuttle bay and he has the screen up and he talks everyone through it. It feels very similar to that.
Yeah.
It's being presented and how they're talking about it.
I know it reminded me of Flight of the Navigator. It does. The shape of it.
Yeah.
You know, when we see it at the end, the shape.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That'd be a good crossover, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't have.
What were he called? Max? The computer. I'm sure he were he called Max?
It might be.
Because he says something like, my name's blah, 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 and he says, I'll shorten it to Max or something. Anyway, that'd be I'd be up for that. Let's bring that in. And that ship as well, that ship were probably made out of programmable matter if you look at it, because it
changed shape.
They did all that stuff. So maybe who owns Flight of the Navigator? Is that? I think it's
Disney in it.
Well, never mind then. We're not going to get that crossover.
No, we won't get that crossover.
I have to just change the names, make it Flight of the Navigator, but not Flight of the Navigator. We'll get away with it. So it's 5 light years across, and they think it's a roving binary black hole. I don't think it's going to be a roving binary black hole. We didn't see any black holes when we went inside it.
Well, things that happened during this episode sort of go, no, this isn't a natural phenomenon.
Exactly, yeah. We'll get to it when we get to the end, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's a roving binary black hole. I mean, we have talked about in the past, like Discovery can drag its mysteries on a little bit too long, but you know what? I'm happy for us not to find out exactly what it is in episode 2. I think
if like Is this going to be 13 episodes long this season, is it?
No, 10 this season.
10. But if the mystery was solved in the second episode of what it is, and then we had 8 episodes of fighting it, that could be dragged out a bit too much. There needs to be a balance.
Yeah. A roving binary black hole as well. While it sounds interesting, it's not that exciting. And I'm not interested in 8 more episodes of a roving binary black hole.
Like, I think a roving binary black hole would be able to track where they'd be able to predict it because it's natural.
So, yeah, it'll be something. We'll keep an eye on that as we go through. Weird bit, though. So you've got this briefing. We've got the Ferengi in there that everybody lost their minds over. I thought the Ferengi looked fine. We got
what was it? There was a post in one of the Star Trek groups today. And someone was going on, could someone explain why a Ferengi's at the briefing and in the Starfleet uniform?
Yeah.
Have I missed something in Discovery?
I think you have missed something in Discovery, probably the time jump.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you need to have a look
like,
at that.
To be fair, the comments are all sort of like, well, yeah, and even if we were in next gen times or just after, why couldn't you have a Ferengi in Starfleet? We had none.
Once Nog broke the ice, that's it. The floodgates were open. But into this briefing wanders Book. And it's like, okay, 1, Book's not a Starfleet officer. 2, he's severely emotionally traumatized by the thing that you're talking about. Is it a good idea just to let him wander in? And I know the sort of...
like, why the door's just open in this high-level meeting?
Yeah, can anybody just wander in? I mean, I know they say, this isn't just Starfleet. Everybody's going to have to do something about this, which, fair enough, but...
Yeah, do you actually want everyone just wandering into this meeting?
Yeah, maybe just have somebody on the door, like check in, have you looked the planet to the anomaly? Maybe you should wait until... I mean, even like when you go see a play at the theatre, they don't let you in if you miss the start of it. You got to wait till the intermission. So I just think we need a bit more security there. The Vulcans or the Nivarans or whatever we're going to call them, that we find out they're not members of the Federation yet. I think they will be by the end of the season.
By the end of this season, I think they'll be rejoining.
Yeah. And one thing that I'll be really interested to see if they pursue this or not is they say we've got to get ready for civil unrest. And I'm wondering, is this going to be a way of kind of doing a commentary on COVID and people's reactions to COVID? Is there going to be mass panic? And how are the citizens of the Federation going to react to it? And I don't know, it may have just been a throwaway line, but I'd be very surprised if they don't comment on COVID in some way through the start of the season. And I wonder if they're going to look at that like there's a big threat that everybody has to work together to solve. Are there going to be people who refuse to do what they're being asked to do? And is that going to cause a problem? And I just wonder if...
What's the people who are going to deny that the anomaly's there?
Yeah,
but it's just wiped out that planet that used to be there. Can't you tell?
Yeah, fake
no,
news.
It's still there. No, it's not. Look.
Yeah, look, here's a bit of dust from it. So, yeah, I wonder if we'll get anomaly deniers or... I don't know. I just wondered if that's the little seed that they've planted there. And then Saru, he's had that great scene with Michael already, and then he gets another brilliant scene with Tilly where she thinks he's got taller, which I just think's a really cute, very, very Tilly thing to say. And it's so clear that they're both so happy to see each other. And it finishes with that lovely moment. They get into the turbo lift, and Saru very briefly puts his hand on Tilly's back, like reassuringly. And I love the fact that he doesn't do it out in the corridor because it might look unprofessional. And by the time the turbo lift doors open, his hand's gone. But he just gives her that lovely moment of assurance, which it makes you realise, even though it's only been one episode, how much this crew's missed having Saru around.
Well, it's not a normal crew anyway, is it? Like, people go on about them sometimes not being quite Starfleet-y. But this was a top secret science vessel, and most of the people on there are there for sciencey things.
And they've been displaced by nearly 1,000 years.
Yeah.
After saving the universe. So, there's
so these are, like, they're also going to be developing this very close family tie between each other.
Yeah, the bond with this crew is definitely going to be stronger than what you might see on most crews. And so they jump to the Anomaly, and Stamets says, curiouser and curiouser, and Michael shuts him down and says, I want scientific analysis. Now, wait a minute, Michael, because he just quoted from your favourite book ever, Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised she wasn't like, good one, Stamets. Or at least give us a bit of a smile or something, you know. I think it's more likely that it's just one of the writers really likes Alice in Wonderland and they've forgotten that
forgot that it's Michael's favourite book.
She could have gone, hey, good one. They both rolled up the sleeves and they have matching Alice in Wonderland tattoo. Just give us a little moment. And then we get what I thought was a really nice, I mean, it's not really an Easter egg because it's spelled out, is where they're talking about what they're going to do with Grey, and they're going to make a synthetic body. And Culber says it's the Soong method after a doctor did it on a Starfleet admiral
800 years ago.
You're like, great, excellent.
He did it on a Starfleet admiral, Picard, I think his name was.
Yeah, and at first I was like, well, why don't you know who Picard is? Then I'm like, of course, because he's missed Picard. He jumped over it. So
yeah,
it's a good thing though that he doesn't give us any more of a biography. Like, you know, when they say, well, will it still get old? He doesn't say, well, actually, the Picard one that they did got shot a couple of months after. So, yeah, he died. So it's good that he doesn't give us any spoilers. He only spoils what we've already seen.
Yeah, and it says it'll age normally. And
yeah. And we get the first reference, and we talked about this before, because obviously Ian Alexander is a trans actor, but it's never been made clear whether Grey was trans or not. And he does actually reference transitioning at this point, which, you know, again, I think it's just referenced the way it should be referenced. It came up naturally in conversation. There's not a big hoo-ha made of it. But it's good that the dropping that in and having awareness that trans people exist, which a lot of people still have a problem with. So just dropping it in.
I thought that they were on about that he transferred before because of being a Trill.
No, I thought it was a reference to actually transitioning.
See, when I've watched it, I just thought they were on about it won't have any problem transferring. Because it transferred before. Because and I thought it was to do with being a Trill.
They usually call that joining, though, don't they? But then, I mean, I don't know.
But that's how I read it. I didn't even.
I have a feeling.
I didn't even look at it how you've seen it. Well, I just assumed that it was on about being how it was with a Trill, that he transferred that the transfer and all that.
I feel like it was an acknowledgement that, like the actor who portrays him, Grey's also transitioned. And they have this thing where, I might remove that mole. And that gets you thinking, like, okay, if you were given the option of having a whole new body, and I'm not having a pop at the way Ian looks, good on him. That's great. If that's the best you can imagine is the body that you had before, that's great. But I'd be like, well, can you make me look like The Rock or something? You know what I mean?
Well, he wants to look like himself, doesn't he? But he's sort of going, well, get rid of this blemish.
Like, no, I want the people's eyebrow and everything. Anyway, and now I do want to put this out there at this point, and I feel like we're heading for heartbreak with Grey and Adira. I just don't. I don't think it's going to work out because even at this point, Gray's talking about, oh, well, when I get my body back, I could get joined again, or you know what, I might become a Guardian.
Yeah, I can finish my Guardian training.
And it's, oh, hang on, the Guardians have to stay on Trill forever.
Yeah,
so
the little clip that we saw of them back in season 3.
They were absolutely besotted with each other.
Well, there were, but there were also the only 2 people on that ship that we saw.
That's true.
And is it a thing of sort of like because they were so together?
Yeah,
they were almost forced into that.
And you know, not being cynical, and I apologise to any of our younger listeners, but young love doesn't tend to last, you know. And these are 2 very, very young people.
Yeah,
and the 2 very young people, both of whom have a symbiont or have had a symbiont that has lots of lifetimes experience. So both of these people are still very much developing into who they're going to be in life. And if they've got separate goals, if Adira's wanting to stay in Starfleet, but Gray's wanting to go and be a Guardian, I'm just predicting we're going to have some emotional scenes later this season. Not sure it's going to be a happy ending, which will be a shame. But if it's done really well and it's an interesting story, I'm up for it. But I just feel bad for them because they do seem really sweet together. But I feel like once Gray's got his own body, that's going to cause problems. And Michael on a holodeck then, but it's not a holodeck, it's a quarters. Which
now I have no problem with this because
I don't
we saw. I know that we didn't see it in the original series, but in TES they had holodecks. They didn't have characters, but they had environments. And then they have holodecks in Next Gen and Voyager and DS9. And I have no problem sort of 800 years later that they can fit a holo transmitter into any room.
Yeah, it's an expansion of the technology, isn't it? And it's a great idea. Like, you get home to your quarters, you're right. We'll have it. I want to make it into this. And presumably, like, you're trying to get a good night's sleep, right? Make it so it's a really peaceful place that I can go to sleep and stuff.
Where do I sleep well?
Yeah, I think that's great.
I'm really strange because it took me a lot of years to sleep in quiet. Because where I used to live in Middlesbrough, I had a main road one side, train line the other.
Yeah.
And I was in direct landing path for Teesside Airport. Yeah. And when I moved back down to Leeds, I couldn't sleep properly for ages because it was quiet.
Yeah. No, it's weird how you get used to
it. I got used to it. And it's taken me years and years that I fall asleep, that I can sleep now in the quiet.
If you had one of these hollow rooms, you could get them to fly a plane over.
I could make it shake.
Yeah, you'd be fine. And the computer's now called Zora, which is what it's called in Calypso. And we were obviously building to this last season, but it's just dropped in very nonchalantly, and we don't get much more of an explanation of it.
No,
just the computer's called now.
Yeah, like Calypso has to be in an alternate universe somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
or are we going to get the events of Calypso this season? We all thought we'd get it last season with time travel. Maybe they'll slip it in this season. Because I'm sure we said that they all happen.
Yeah, there's been different interviews with different producers at different times. And some of them have said Calypso is absolutely part of our canon. We're going to build to that and we will show you how that integrates. Another one said, well, Calypso's part of the canon, but it might not be an exact one-to-one.
The thing is, as soon as it's on screen, rule is that's canon.
Yep, so you're going to have to explain why the ship looks like its pre-refit version again when you do get to Calypso. So we'll look forward to that. Bear that in mind, writers. But we're one step closer because we've got a computer called Zora now. And one of the big dilemmas then is, do we send Book, don't we send Book? And this is where you get the good dynamic between Michael and Saru, because Saru seems to be counselling her on, right, this is when you've got to look at it objective as a captain. This is where you can let your personal feelings come in.
Yeah, he's mentoring her.
Yeah, he's making her a better captain by being a good first officer. And obviously we do end up sending Book. And we get this thing where Stamets is going to go, but he's going to be a projection. And so
before he knows there's a projection, he throws that in her, doesn't he? What, you're sending the only two people who can use the spore drive. You might as well throw me out the ship, out an airlock, which you did last season.
Yeah, I had to look that up. So I was like, I'm sure I should remember that, but I didn't quite remember it. You know what? Maybe if it was still available on Netflix, I could have refreshed my memory. But yeah, so they're gonna go. So we get to have them two. And you get these things like Stamets has got misgivings about it, and we do get a mini arc in the episode to find out why he's got an issue about it. And
it's just rubbish at talking to people.
Yeah, Stamets,
and he has no empathy.
No, that's true. But I liked the sort of explanation of it. Like Book, quite understandably, thinks, well, I've pushed your nose out of joint because you were the only person who could do the spore drive, and now you're not. But Stamets, it's actually, no, it's because I couldn't save my family, and you had to do it for me. And I can sort of understand where he's coming from with that one. But what he's doing is taking his feeling of inadequacy and taking it out on Book, which isn't fair. So Book did the right thing, and it's not his fault that he could use the spore drive and he was capable of it, and managed to get the job done. So, and it's no detriment to Stamets that he couldn't do it at the time. So yeah, it's a bit of misdirected anger, I think, from Stamets. But
and like I said, Stamets is socially inept. He's awkward.
He definitely is. He's one of them people.
And the only reason is the chief engineer. The only reason he's the chief engineer, and like he is because of what Discovery was as a science ship.
Yeah, that's true.
It wouldn't have progressed up the ranks on a normal Starfleet vessel.
Yeah, it was
and that's something about Discovery. And you get these people who are brilliant in fields, which Stamets is, but they're hopeless in other things.
Well, that was it. It was because he was a mushroom expert, basically. Which, any other ship in the fleet, it's not gonna cut the mustard, is it? Really? But speaking of engineers, we haven't seen Jet Reno this season, and I know that that's because Tig Notaro's contract is that she can only appear so many. I don't know if she's committed to other programs or she does other things. But it's very much an actor availability thing.
Well, it's a good job they haven't got Doug Jones tied down like that someone else, because I've been watching him on there and what they do in the shadows.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He's in season 3.
Spoilers. But yes, he is. And he's also in Hocus Pocus 2, which is out soon. So, he's far more prolific than you think, Doug Jones.
He's in a lot of things that you don't realise he's Doug Jones. Because he does makeup all the time.
Yeah, he does. Basically, if there's any characters who are tall in makeup, there's a good chance it's probably Doug Jones. Or Ron Perlman. Probably one or the other. Right, so then it all starts kicking off and they get hit by the gravitational wave. We still don't have seatbelts. We've got the program now. Why don't the
it's like, we've got a gravitational wave coming for us. It's going to hit now.
Yeah. And then even the second time, it's like, the good news is we've worked out when it's coming. The bad news is it's now. And yeah, just
but the crew gets proper beaten up by this.
Half like this is 2 episodes in a row now where the Discovery and the crew have taken a hell of a pasting.
Yeah, but you see them and it is the gravity's gone, so they're floating in air, and that's what I did for thumbnail. I just thought, yeah.
Well, exactly.
But and then it stops and it just bang.
Yeah, like you need to get the seatbelts fitted. I know it's a deleted scene from Nemesis, but the Enterprise E had them in a deleted scene, so I know it's not canon, but
they have them in Abraham's.
There you go. You see, the Kelvin
in the Kelvin verse, they have seatbelts.
Well, that's because the Kelvin verse, safety first became a big thing. That's why they had the Kelvin pods on the bridge. They were a lot more health and safety conscious, I think. So
right.
Also, this is before the discoveries from, even though now it's getting head scratchy, isn't it? But where we are now in the timeline is after the Kelvin timeline diverted. But when Discovery led, oh no, it wouldn't have been before, would it? No, Discovery season 1 and 2 would be after the Kelvin destroyed or didn't get destroyed in this version.
Yeah, they'd be after.
Yeah, they would. Okay, so yeah, you could have done with seatbelts. Two occasions in this episode where they would have been really bloody handy.
Yeah, everyone, put your seatbelts on now.
Yeah. And yeah, when the second time when Michael goes, right, everybody, brace yourselves, like there wasn't really much time there, Michael. You know, I mean, I'm not knocking her. She gave the order as soon as it was possible to do it, but yeah, Adira and Tilly having a bit of a tiff over checking the works, quite interesting. I think this is playing into Tilly not being quite herself because she does snap quite quickly, and that's not very Tilly at all.
I also think a part of this is that she was made first in acting first officer, and now she's a lieutenant, and Adira's the ensign, and she's got command, and she wasn't ready for command. She shouldn't have been acting first officer.
No.
And I think here she's still not used to command. Like they've all had these promotions, and pretty much blanket wise, all the ones who are already above ensign have been made a commander, and it's obviously because of the time travel thing.
Yeah,
and the burn mission.
So
Tilly's been made a lieutenant, but it goes back to this thing again where these are scientists.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant at things, but they're not good at other things. And so Tilly's been promoted into a position that she's not actually equipped to deal with.
Yeah, and maybe that's gonna be some of the stuff that she's going to explore this season.
Well, we saw it, didn't we? As an ensign, she couldn't help swearing and all that. She couldn't control what she says.
Yeah, true.
So this is all probably putting a lot of undue pressure on her, making her a lieutenant.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking, though, the whole thing, when we first met Tilly as a cadet, the whole thing was, I want to be part of the command program and learn to be a captain. And maybe she's at a bit of a crossroads thinking, well, actually, is that the right path for me? Because when I was a first officer, I really wasn't ready for it. So maybe I need to rethink my priorities. That I really hope that they don't just drop this with Tilly, and that if we're gonna do a story about her mental state, then let's do it and let's explore it fully. Yeah. Because we've done 3 seasons.
I assumed, like in the early seasons, that she was on the spectrum somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And she was really good at what she does. But does that make her right to be in command? She might have wanted to be in command, but is she right for command?
Well,
and to be commanding someone.
if that's what we're going to explore, I'm really interested to see that story through and see where she does go. And Saru again steps in, makes really good decisions. Like, right, we need to cut this tether that we've got. So again, he's giving the right advice to the captain at the right time.
We need to cut the tether and pull back.
Yeah, and there's a bit where Michael says to Culber, "Is Book emotionally stable?" And Culber says, "Well, you can't really tell because it could be stress, it could be."
Yeah.
And this does go back to Michael was very hesitant to send Book on this, but it was Saru giving the advice, going, "You know that he's the most equipped for it and he's the right choice." But
that's the reality, is that Book is compromised, but he's also the only one who could fly his ship in there.
True.
No one else could do it.
And this, I suppose, this goes back to Kobayashi and Maru, because it's there's no right answer in this. There's a lot of reasons why it had to be Book, but it wouldn't have been the wrong decision really for Michael to say, "No, I'm not sending Book." And that's borne out here by he's having flashes of his nephew, but then if they hadn't sent him, they wouldn't have got the data. So we do seem to be doing a lot with the captain has to make tough decisions. Which...
Yeah, like the first episode being called Kobayashi Maru could be quite a clue for the whole season.
Yeah,
and we in no-win situations with a lot of these things.
And yeah, is that what we're going to see throughout the season? How does Michael respond to these different no-win situations, and how does that make her a better captain as we go along?
Yeah,
which I think is a much more interesting thing to do with Michael than some of the stuff we've done in the previous seasons. Like, I'm really on board with Michael as the captain. I think it works. It works so much better for the show, and it makes it feel in a good way more like a conventional Star Trek show, because our main character,
your main character is the captain.
Yeah, which there we go. That feels right. That feels
it is. It is right.
Yeah. Then they come up with this plan. We're going to get Book back. I'm going to use programmable matter so that I can feel the waves coming and everything, which I think is very clever. And there's a really good subtle moment where Michael says, "Go now," and he says, "Are you sure?" And she says, "Yes." And he misses it. And the first time I thought, well, that's Book being an idiot, questioning her. But that's the whole point of that scene, is that, he is questioning her when he shouldn't be. He needs to...
He should have just gone when she said.
Yeah, and I think that's really clever writing, because I noticed it as it happened and thought, oh, what an idiot. And then it's the episode acknowledges that. So...
But I don't think he's questioning her.
No.
Here, when he's saying, "Are you sure?" He's questioning himself.
Yeah, I think that's
because of what's happened. It isn't that hasn't got faith in what Michael's telling him.
No,
it's that he's, because of what's just happened, he's unsure if he should of himself with doing stuff.
Yeah, and
is this the right thing to be doing now?
That's it, and it's a moment's hesitation, but it means they're not able to escape at that point. And this is when, again, Saru steps in and says, right, you need to talk to him as his partner now rather than as his captain. That's no, she's not his captain, but she might as well be. And I like
she is his captain.
Yeah. I like that.
She's his girlfriend. Of course she's in charge.
That's very
We
fair.
all know this is a reality.
Yeah.
Every bloke watching this knows that reality.
I think that's a fair point, and I can only speak from my own experience, but yes. I love that she goes, right, I'm going to open a private thing, and you get a little privacy booth on the bridge.
I liked how it did put that force field round her.
Yeah, so it's like
no one could hear what she was saying.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool little touch, and she does a really good job here. She says all the right things, gets the confidence in him. So she's doing a good job as his partner, but also as a captain in this.
Yeah.
Sense. She gets the result that she needs to do. And then finally, we sort of complete the arc with Stamets and Book. Because at the start, Stamets had said, "Oh, does the spore drive make you feel this, this, and this?" And Book's just ain't interested in talking about this at all.
Do you get a tingle in your arms whenever you do it?
And then he opens up a bit at the end and he's like, "Yeah, I do. It's really weird." So, and that's what makes me think that maybe we're not going to do a whole lot more with Book and his trauma, because we seem to have...
We seem to have got out of the worst of it, and it's now in dealing with it.
Yeah, he's got out of the sort of maudlin kind of slump and everything, and it makes me wonder, are we going to do the mental health story with Tilly rather than Book season? I don't know. But I really like Stamets where he says, "I'm going to work it out for you." And it's almost like it's his way of paying him back. Like, you saved family, now I'm going to solve this for you. I'm going to use my skills as a scientist to work out what this problem is and solve it. And hopefully he will do. But we do find out, though, that...
Well, when he starts looking at the data...
Yeah.
And all that. And like they say, it's like... When Book went in, it changed direction to attack Discovery with that gravitational...
Yeah, this is the thing.
And this is why it's not natural. And like they're saying, you can't predict it now.
It implies a degree of sentience if it's reacting to what it thinks is a threat. I mean, maybe not even sentience necessarily, because, you get...
Well, we did have the giant amoeba, didn't we, in TOS?
Yeah, and you get things like plants like the Venus flytrap can react to things.
Yeah, it's sort of like nerves going instead of sentience.
Yeah, exactly. So that it may not necessarily be sentient, but it looks very much like it's alive. And this could lead to it being a really good Star Trek dilemma if we've got... This is a living creature that's potentially going to destroy countless worlds. But can we morally destroy it?
Do we have the right to destroy it?
Yeah. And, I'll put my cards on the table. In this instance, I'd say yes. Talking to it, if you can talk to it and you can rationalize with it and say, look, you are destroying our galaxy, then try the diplomatic approach first, but you might just have to...
but it's 5 light years across. Like, that shot at the end looked like it was swallowing the solar system.
Yeah, it was huge.
Because there was planets looked like they were being sucked into it.
Yeah.
But
it was a really nice shot,
but I don't think it's natural. It's definitely not a binary black hole.
No, it's definitely not a binary black hole. But...
I think the 100% massive, great big flashing light that it's not a binary black hole is that they said at the start of the episode, we think it's a binary black hole.
Yes. Yeah. I think
that was the giveaway that it wouldn't be.
And you know what? The episode's called Anomaly, not Binary Black Hole. So unless next week's is called Binary Black Hole, we might be wrong.
Like, if it is a creature, would it still be called an anomaly?
I don't know. Maybe now we know it's a creature, we won't call it an anomaly anymore.
Is it a creature? We're not sure, but it definitely has. It definitely has reactions to things.
Yeah. Are you gonna bet that this is the Iconians again, or have you learnt your lesson after the Red Angel?
The Iconians would have been so much better than an AI.
Would have been better, actually. Yeah. Rather than
let's be honest, I should be writing for Discovery because I know Iconians would have been better.
Yeah, the Iconians would have been better than Michael's mum. I will absolutely give you that one. Yeah, I don't think this one's Iconians. But
no, I don't think Iconians. I don't think Voyager.
I think
Voyager. I'd love it to have been Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah, but Disney.
But Disney.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, like what would be nice is something new, but not something stupid new, like somebody screamed and blew up all the dilithium in the galaxy.
I didn't mind that, but I don't want it to be something like that again.
I did. I thought it was a bit. Yeah, this isn't.
I thought it worked. I was okay with that.
I was a bit disappointed with what caused the burn.
I totally see why people might not be happy.
Again, Q would have been so much cooler.
Yeah. So, like this one, I don't feel like this is being positioned as a big mystery in the same way that the Red Angel was and the Burn was.
No, I think they've got to work out what it is. And like Stamets is only just starting to look at the data. Yeah. He picked up terabytes of data.
Yeah.
And you can't look at terabytes of data in a few minutes.
No, exactly. And I don't feel like whatever this is, I don't feel like it has the potential for that level of disappointment because I don't feel like they're bigging it up in this. I know we're only 2 episodes in, but I don't think they're attaching the same sort of.
Yeah, it feels more like a traditional Star Trek mystery.
Yes, it does. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Anyway, so that's episode 2, Anomaly. Let us know what you thought about it. Let us know what you think the anomaly might be. Remember that we've ruled out Flight of the Navigator, so...
Yeah, only because of Disney.
Only because of Disney.
That bloody mouse.
Exactly. You know, you could have left Flight of the Navigator so Star Trek could have it, but never mind. If you want to get in touch with us, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com or come and join us on Facebook. We'll be back.
We're not posting the link for this live stream until a Monday.
Yeah.
Because obviously we do a thumbnail with it, and just in case there's a clue in the thumbnail ever, we're posting Monday, so you've got a chance to watch it either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday on Pluto.
Or if you're one of those lucky people who lives in America, you can watch it on Thursday when it drops. But yeah, so thanks for trekking with us this time, and we'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fascinating.